Trading today is kind of slow. Right now we have very little trading for the entire day. And as you see right now, it's alternating between the bulls and the bears. It's going green to red, and it's staying on red for a little bit right now. But compared to Friday, where we did a lot of trades on our day trading side on this account, because we had such a volatile move, we barely have anything happening today. Been a slow day, been a long day. Trading within the stocks that I currently own, but maybe before we switch over and start looking at the equities that did hit their sell triggers, maybe we'll see the candles switch to green one more time. In the meantime, we're going to type in our first equity we're going to look at is going to be Micron, which is MU. And it looked like the bears might have taken control there for a little bit. We had a sell alert trigger when price dropped below our slow moving average. However, it's come back up, but we currently have 8 shares, which is 2 shares per book, and we already have 2 of our books already up with sell orders, which means if this price does continue its downward move either today or on into tomorrow, we will not be setting any new sell orders since we're already maxed out on our sell orders. So we will move on to our next stock, which is Coke, KO. And here we almost had a complete cross on Friday that triggered a sell on our fast moving average. But today we absolutely have price moving across both the fast moving average and the slow moving average. So that's 2 crosses and a possible 2 sells of 2 shares each. So we will wait for tomorrow to see if we have continuation, and it's likely we will have continuation because when tech stocks are moving up, consumer staples or defensive stocks will be moving down. Money typically moves out of defensive stocks and moves into tech stocks when the market looks great, when it looks like it's going to be moving up. Coke is a stock that investors use for safety when the markets aren't going bull or green or up. So with that, we'll move on to our next, which is Monster Energy Drink. We've been looking at this for the past several days, and we have what we've been waiting for. We're waiting for price confirmation after we have a break out of this zone. So I currently have 6 shares, and with Monster Energy Drink, that is 2 shares per book, and I've got 3 books, so we're going to sell all 6 of these because we don't want to lose any more of our profits that we gained from the earnings report that was released on August 7th. So let's go ahead, let's type in 5, bump this up to 6, and we're looking to sell all 6 shares. We don't see what we are able to sell those at. That's not going at 62.29. We'll drop it down to 62.27. See if that goes. We'll wait a little bit longer, and now there we go. So that sold 6 shares at 62.27, and those Monster Energy drinks, I bought those for $60.40. So we're looking at just under $2 for 6 shares. So we're looking at a little more than $12 in profit for Monster Energy drink. Now, if any of you were watching my videos when I started, we did buy Monster Energy drink around this time here. We got a cross, then we had a confirmation, so we bought. And then prior to earnings, we sold half of our shares, which would have been 6 shares for 2 books. And if you're waiting for me to make a decision and waiting on continuation to confirm that we should be selling these stocks, then congratulations, you've made a small profit. Now, if you sold before I did, then you made even larger profit. So congratulations there. So with that, we will remove this drawing. You no longer need that zone there, highlighting that consolidation, waiting for breakout in either direction. We had it today. Or we had it on Friday, actually. We had confirmation today. All right, next on the list is Verizon. That is VZ. And here, unlike the last chart for Monster, or which chart was that? That would have been for... I believe that was Coke. Let's take a look. Let's take another look at Coke. Yeah, so we had price fall, but we didn't have the entire candle close below the fast moving average, even though we had price cross and then eventually move back up. So this is not a trigger for actual sale, even though it was an alert that was for possible. So this is not continuation of this cross because this is not an actual cross by my rules. This is the actual cross, and tomorrow we're waiting, or we're going to be looking tomorrow for confirmation that it's continuing its price downward. So we'll go back to Verizon, which we actually do have price closing below the fast moving average, and we have a continuation of price moving down today. So that is a clear sell signal. So right now I have 16 shares and I'm maxed out. That is 4 shares per book. And we have 1 trigger activated here. So we're going to be looking to sell 1 book, which is 4 shares. So we'll just drop this down to 4. We're looking to sell at possibly 44.17. And that sold at 44.18. And I bought those Verizon at 42.97. So we'll just round that up to $43. So we're looking at $1.18 per share. So that will round that to 20. So that's $4.80 in profit for the sale of Verizon. Now, if price falls any further, I will not have any shares to sell because I've been holding on to 12 shares since before Liberation Day, since before the end of January, beginning of February. And I bought those at 45.46. This was a nice run that we were having on Verizon. I was hopeful that it would continue up. However, Verizon is quite a choppy stock. Let's go back a year. Pull up a year in a day, and you can see, we did have some decent runs here. Here we had about 2 weeks of going up before it started dropping down. We had a decent run down here, decent run up, but it's just been choppy since basically mid-March. Up, down, up a little bit, down, up, up, up. So it wasn't a bad run here. I was really hopeful that I'd be able to sell my shares that I've been holding on to for a while. But it's not a big deal. If you've been watching my videos, I swing trade and day trade my long-term holdings. So they are not going anywhere. They are the most profitable telecommunications company. But let's go ahead and check and see if that's true. We're going to put this into Verizon. What is the most profitable telecommunications company in the US? And using Google, it is T-Mobile. What is the largest communications company in the US? That's Verizon. So I had my specific data set wasn't actually accurate. I was trying to give you a piece of data that substantiated why we would be holding on to Verizon. I thought it was profits, but it's actual size. Verizon's not going anywhere. That's the bottom line. So we're going to be holding on to Verizon, and if we're able to buy here, sell at this cross, buy here, and later sell at another cross, and buy here and sell at this cross, that's what we really want to do. But I bought Verizon back here, so we're going to be holding on to these for a while. So let's get on back to our other chart, which is our 3-month and 1-day chart instead of the year and a day. Next stock we're going to look at is an ETF, XLU. XLU, which is an ETF for utility sector. So we had 2 things happen today. We had our fast moving average crossing below our slow moving average. And also today we had price move below both the slow moving average and the fast moving average. So that's 3 triggers all at the same time. Now, if we have continuation tomorrow of XLU going down, then we will sell all of our shares that we're able to sell. So right now we have 16 shares, which is 4 books of 4 shares each. And right now, this price at $85.26 is higher than all of the purchase prices of all 16 shares. So we will be profitable tomorrow unless it's a huge drop. The highest price cost basis is $82.97. So as long as this doesn't drop below $82.97, we'll be selling everything at a profit if we have price continuation tomorrow. Well, that's not accurate. I just Just maybe you noticed this before I did. I bought 4 shares at $86. It's just not on my list. I forgot to add that purchase to my list. So I have a wall of sticky notes with all the purchases and all the current stocks that I have. And on that sticky note is the individual purchase price of each book of stocks that I purchase. And this one didn't make the list for whatever reason. So if price continues down, we will sell at least 8 shares possibly at a profit tomorrow, or 12 shares possibly tomorrow, and not 16. All right, so the last stock that we have on our sell list is Yum. It's Yum Brands. And we had price fall down on Friday past our fast moving average, and today we have price continuation. Unfortunately, all of my Yum shares are purchased at a higher price than 146.81 where we sit now. I currently have 4 shares. We already have a sell order on 1, and the other 3 shares I bought at 149.34. So this sell order is in place for a day trading trade that I had set up. So we'll go ahead and place a sell order on a Yum brand for this particular continuation. We want to make sure we have a sell order completed for that cross. We're going to be selling 1 share because I have 4 books. Each book is 1 share only, and I bought that, as I just said, at 149.34. So if we take 10% of the first digit of the hundreds place is 10 cents. We'll add 10 cents to 149.34, make it 149.84. So 149.84 cents. We want that good till canceled and extended hours. Confirm and send. And now we have the sell order for this price cross and continuation. So that's everything on our sell list. Now with Friday's move, we certainly have quite a few stocks that actually hit their sell alerts. So we'll take a look at those. All right, so our buy list, we've got, I think, over 10 stocks that we need to take a look at that hit their triggers for a possible buy. So the first one we're going to take a look at, and these aren't in alphabetical order. I typically do try to go in alphabetical order, but we won't be doing that today. So we're going to be, first one is going to be XLI. Taking a look at that. We had a cross, both the fast moving average crossed the slow moving average on Friday. We also had price move back above our fast moving line and our slow moving line, where Thursday it was down. We do not have price continuation moving up. So we had a price alert on Friday. We do not have continuation, so I will not be buying the ETF XLI. We won't be buying any shares. We currently do have 1 share, and so that's 1 book, but we will wait and see what happens with price action tomorrow on XLI. So now we'll take a look at Visa, which is V. All right, we've got several things we want to look at on this Visa chart. We had price cross on Friday. We don't really have a continuation, even though it is still significantly higher over our fast moving average. But we've got another thing we want to look at. This is clearly a continued downward trend on our slow moving average. So this might just be a little fake out. You know, we had a fake out here. We had a little fake out there. Don't know how long this run was, but if we bought here and then we waited until the cross, there was a huge drop. So let's take a look at their earnings and see what they reported on their earnings. So back on July 29th, they had their earnings estimates were at 283, but their actual was at, it looked like 298. Yeah, 298. So their actual earnings is higher than what was estimated by the expert analysts. Rather, expert analysts. And we also have both of our indicators on our MACD is below the midline of our histogram, which that in itself is it's a pretty good sign that we might not be in the best opportunity to buy Visa. one of the better signals on the MACD is when we have price moving up, we have an indicator, our slow moving average is moving up on the MACD, and it would be stronger if we were above the midline. But when we're below the midline, as you can see here, it started going up a little bit and went down, just like our price action on the chart. Went up a little bit here and then went down. So that could be the same thing here. RSI signal is not really strong in either direction. So with all of this information, with the downward price not being a continuation, and clearly in a downward signal here and below the histogram, you know, we probably, even if we do have a slight movement up on tomorrow's price action and it does have a positive continuation, we'll have to look at these other signals and indicators and make a decision tomorrow. But we will be looking at tomorrow's chart for Visa. All right, let's move on to Riot. R-I-O-T. All right, I currently have 16 shares of Riot. Now that is only one book. I maxed out with 4 books at 64 shares. So we have a couple good pieces of information. We had our price cross on Friday, nice strong cross. We have price continuation. This is a clear continuation of that price action. We have an upward movement right around the midline of the histogram. Unfortunately, when we are in a situation on our 1 month chart, when our fast moving average on the 1 month chart is below our slow moving average, I do not want to buy any more than 1 book. So let's take a look at that, and I'll show you if you're new. Oh, we just had a cross, basically, we'll say early today. We had a cross of our fast moving average. So now it's possible, and I have to restate that, not today. This is a 1 month candle. So at the beginning of this month, we had a cross. So we have to wait until the end of the month to see if we actually have continuation. So we have 6 more days to wait and see if we actually have a continuation. Right now, it does look like we would have to have a pretty big severe drop over the next 6 days in order to not have continuation. But since we're still on this month, and I want to wait for not just confirmation on the daily, I want to have confirmation on the monthly as well to make a good informed decision on whether to buy or sell a stock. So since we already currently have 16, we'll just hold on to those 16. Let's come back here to my 3 month and 1 day chart. So even though we have strong price action, it's been going up for almost 2 weeks now, since the 12th. Their earnings was probably a good report on their earnings statement. So before they were estimated to have an estimated loss of 25 cents, they actually had a gain per share of 57 cents. So that's a huge difference. So we will not be buying anything. We'll be moving on to our next stock we're going to look at is Meli, which is actually Mercado Libre. M-E-L-I is the stock ticker. So on Meli, we had a cross on Friday. Mercado Libre, if you've not ever heard of them, I hadn't heard of them until I actually got into this 2.5 years ago. Think of them as the Amazon of Latin America. They are the largest e-commerce marketplace in Latin America. Now, right now, that's we'll just round it down to $2,400 stock. We had 2 things occur on Friday. We not only had a huge move in price action, we had the fast-moving average of price cross above the slow-moving average. So those are 2 good, strong signals. We do not have continuation on that today. Now, since it is a $2,400 stock, it's something that I want to be absolutely sure that it's moving in the right direction. I just don't wait for confirmation. Let's take a look at their earnings and see what information we can gather there. So the earnings estimate by the analyst was $11.70, but they actually had an earnings of $10.31. So we're looking at a $1.41 difference to the negative, to the downside over the analyst. And that's usually not a good sign. So it's very possible that even though this is strong and right now the overall markets seem to be possibly doing well, I don't know what the interest rates and what types of economic policies are being changed or instituted in Latin America. but that is something I will look into before I make a decision. If we have price continuation tomorrow, then I will look into that to see what geopolitical forces may be that might impact the near future of the rise or decline of the stock. So we'll see what that looks like tomorrow. So for now, we'll move on to Marriott, which is MAR. Marriott, same thing. So Friday was a big move. Friday was a really good move because Jerome Powell and the news, his dovish stance on the economy, and possibly giving a signal that there might be a rate cut in September. So it might be the same information because Friday was such a big move. We had not only price, but we have the average price of the fast-moving average crossing above the slow-moving average, but we do not have continuation. So we'll go ahead and take a look at the next stock on the list, which is LNG. LNG, we did have a cross on Friday of the fast-moving average over the slow-moving average. We do have upward price action today from the close, but with price being lower than the open on Friday, we're going to wait until tomorrow to see if we have confirmation of price actually moving up higher. We did have it go higher, but then the bears pushed it back down. So even though we have this price action moving up, we have the MACD moving up, and it looks like we're about to cross the midline of the histogram. And the fact that this is a company that sells LNG, liquefied natural gas, and we've signed a contract with the EU for them to be purchasing billions and billions, I believe $750 billion over the next 3 years of LNG from the US. It seems like LNG would be a beneficiary because they are a huge company, but I don't know if that contract stipulates any specific companies or if it's just going to be every company that sells LNG within the US. I don't know if there's going to be some type of agreement where, depending on the size of the company or the mid-cap size of the company or the profitability of the companies that sell LNG here in the U.S., if there's going to be some type of distribution parameters for that have access to be selling their gas to the EU. That's something I will eventually look into, but for right now, I don't really have to concern myself with it, because we don't have price continuation. If we do get price continuation, then I will look into the specifics of the contract if that's publicly available. All right, Amazon. Let's take a look at that. All right, we have price crossed several days ago. We had price dropping on us. We had another big move on Friday because it's a tech stock. Tech stocks moved wonderfully. And I say wonderfully because for me, when we have days like this, big candles like that, I make a little bit of money. I make quite a bit of money, relatively speaking, because of the volatility. It just doesn't just go up all day long. That happens rarely. It might go up a couple dollars for maybe 30 minutes or an hour, and then it drops 80 cents to a dollar for the next hour, or 20 minutes or 30 minutes. So it might have gone up and down all day long, and that's, for me, that's a wonderful day. I certainly don't mind days like this where we open and continue higher. We're in this for the long run, but I do like making money every day. However, for the purposes of these videos, I'm basically showing you my swing trades, which is money earned over time. At any rate, let's get back to it. We have our price move. We had that cross. Price moved across both averages. Is this continuation? You know, as a Amazon long-term holder, I could just buy it, but I want to try to stick to my rule. It's very possible that Amazon, we don't know what it's going to do from day to day. So we'll wait until tomorrow to see if we have price continuation higher than the close on Friday. I've got $5,500 and I've got about, 8 more stocks to take a look at. And if I'm able to, if we get clear indications that price is moving up, then I want to buy those. I typically want to try to buy stocks that are clear in an clear upward move, as opposed to something like this, where here we know we were higher over a week ago. So we were at 1.232, we're now at 227. So I would like to buy a stock when it's a clear indication that we're buying higher than the past previous days. So we're going to take a look at App Lovin'. Like here, this would be another example of what I was just saying. We clearly were higher several, over 2 weeks ago. So even though we have price move above our fast moving average, we do have a clear continuation in price. So that is a good one that we're going to look at. So I will highlight that on my list as a possibility. So we're going to continue to go through this list pretty quickly and see if there's a better stock. Disney, we had price move across on Friday. We do not have price continuation. So we're definitely not going to be doing anything with Disney. All right, the next one is QQQ, which is the NASDAQ ETF for the NASDAQ. So this candle indicative of Friday's big move, especially for the tech stocks. And as I said, we're not doing much. The S&P is not doing much today. And since many of the stocks in the S&P are weighted by the tech stocks have an overweight influence on the S&P 500. So we have a similar candle to the S&P 500. They're going to be basically roughly close to the same type of price action, which for today is very little. But Friday's candle did not, it's close. We could call that a close, but we don't have continuation. So we're going to move on to the next stock. And if it sounds like I'm moving a little quickly, I am. I've got 1, 2, 3 or 4 more I want to get to. I'm trying to keep my videos to less than half an hour. So right now my video is at 25 minutes. All right, so SMH, we had price move across both averages, the slow moving and the fast moving average. That closed on Friday, and we do have price continuation. So we're going to go ahead and buy if we're able to. We've got 4 shares right now, and I purchased 8. So this is currently 2 books. We're going to purchase 2 more books. So there's 4 already set for us. So that's 4 shares, which is 2 shares per book. Let's raise that price up to $293.94. Let's raise it up to let's just hit buy market. Okay, that's not good. Oh, well, it's not going because it is 11 minutes after 4. And the active trader is inactive after hours, after closing. The active trader is only available to use from 9:30 to 4. So we're going to come in here and we're going to place a buy order. Don't make many of these, so we're going to bump this up to 4. And we want to buy at the current prices. We'll try $293.92. Well, we'll just leave it at $294. Good till cancel and extended hours. And we got it at $293.97. So we'll go ahead and track that. And what I mean by track is record that on my wall. I don't want to miss recording those purchases like I did on the stock earlier in the video. All right, let's jump in and take a look at SoFi online banking. Well, clear. That is a clear indication as a strong upward move. For SoFi, I like to have, where's my list? I like to have 72, which is each book having 18 shares. I'm currently at 54, so we're going to buy 18. So let's come in. Let's just go to 20, drop this down to, oh, whoop, active trader, can't do that. Forgot about that. So we're going to buy 18. Well, that's the current price at $26.19. Good till cancel and extended hours. And we're going to record that on my sticky notes on the wall at $26.18. Now, SoFi has been one of my best performing stocks since I started trading. And I actually started this particular strategy, I believe, a little less than a year ago. And I got into SoFi when they were, I believe, around $8 or $9. So SoFi has been a good performing stock for me, and I anticipate that they're going to be a great performing stock for me over the long haul. So if you are following me and you're in the markets, then you may want to consider purchasing SoFi. This might be a good opportunity. If you're not in the markets, then do what you can. I would possibly, be of benefit to you if you're following my trades. You know, you can use this possibly as an opportunity to actually enter the markets and also to purchase SoFi. And as I make my trades, you can make them as well. All right, another one we're going to look at is it's XYZ, commonly known as Square. What once used to be known as Square became Block for stock purposes, and now it's XYZ, which is Block Inc. So they're still Block. They just changed their stock ticker from SQ earlier this year, I believe, to XYZ. All right, we clearly had a nice move on Friday, along with everything else in the S&P 500, or many other things in the S&P 500. However, this cross, this was late in the day, so I do not count this cross of the average of the fast-moving line over the slow-moving line, slow-moving average. I do not consider that as a cross on Friday. We're going to count this as a cross on today, because if we look, that the end of this average line would have been back here. So this is not a continuation. We'll look tomorrow for the continuation for XYZ. So the last one that we're actually going to look at on our list is XLI, which is an ETF for industrials. Same thing. We have, you know, almost for every stock we looked at today, for a high majority of them, for more than half of them, we had our fast-moving average cross our slow-moving average today, but we did not have a continuation in price action, thus being a clear indicator to not purchase. Now, those are all of the stocks that were triggered today. Looking at our list of previous triggers that we didn't act upon, we've got Booking Holdings, which is BKNG. And we have clear price continuation. I do not count this against price continuation because our cross happened 3 days ago, and we clearly have a price continuation here. But it's a $5,000 stock, $5,700, and we only have $38.88. So I would like to buy Bookings when that moves. It's a pretty good, strong move, and it's a high value stock, but I don't have the money, so we're going to move the Kinsale, KNSL. And we had crossed 3 days ago, but price since that cross of the fast moving average over the slow moving average has just been in a downward trend. So we will not be purchasing Kinsale. So that is everything on our list. We are done for the day for both our sells and our buy orders. All right, so we are now going to take a look at what we did today. So we sold Monster Energy Drink, sold Verizon, we put a sell order for Yum, and we bought ETF SMH, and we bought shares of SoFi. You can see at the end of the day we had some movement on the today's trading when the S&P 500, we did at least go down. So the bears ultimately ended up pressing the stock market down a bit. So now we'll take a look and we'll see what our totals are. So for today, not much movement in the stock market, and I only day trade 32 of the shares that we own, and they weren't moving very much. Not a lot of volatility, so we have a little over $63 in gains. So far this year, this portfolio is performing at 1.22%, and the S&P 500 is at 0.899. So we're performing roughly 0.3% better, and overall we are looking at roughly 16.5% for between both accounts. The one I had to close, and this is the new account. 17.5%, and the S&P 500 performing at roughly 11.5. So we are back up to performing roughly 6% better than the S&P 500. And this is our account. So even though there wasn't a great deal of movement today and gains, realized gains on our end, we did perform a little bit better today than the S&P 500, and that's my goal. If every day I can outperform the S&P 500, doesn't matter by how much, it's still a gain. And overall, after 220 days of trading, hopefully those daily improvements or those daily performance numbers will add up to substantial numbers every year.